My name's Jay Scott, and I've helped countless clients lose fat and get the body they've always dreamed of. Today, we're going to be discussing 5 dieting mistakes that will absolutely kill your chances at losing fat and achieving your fitness goals. Mistake number 1, not tracking portions and eating mindlessly. In a car, we have a dashboard, and on that dashboard, we have a lot of data. We have fuel levels, oil pressure, engine temperature, etc. Well, on our bodies, we don't have this information readily available, and honestly, it'd be kind of weird if we did. So we have to come up with our own system of tracking data. Fortunately, we can do that through a couple of different methods. The first is portion control. This one works great in the beginning stages of weight loss. And it's really as simple as eating a bit less at each meal. You can also look at something like the athlete's plate as an example. This is basically just a template that shows you what a correctly portioned plate of food looks like. The second and the most accurate method is to track your calories every day. Fortunately, there are tons of apps out there now that can help you with that. The one I'm most familiar with is called MyFitnessPal. They're not a sponsor, but I use it, my clients use it. It works great. You just log your food daily. It's that simple. Here are a couple of other things to keep in mind. Even healthy foods can lead to weight gain if you eat too much of them. And eating while you're distracted can also result in overeating. Yes, that includes turning up a bag of Starburst jelly beans while watching Netflix. Snacking while you're watching TV is really a big cause of weight gain. That's why I personally advise my clients to avoid snacking in general as much as possible.
Snack time!
I'd much rather that they plan their meals in advance. It's just too easy to overeat when you allow unplanned eating to creep in there. Mistake number 2, neglecting protein intake. Eating enough protein is essential for muscle preservation during fat loss. Listen, you're basically doing a form of light, controlled starvation when you're on a diet, and the body will lose muscle tissue very easily during this time. And that's because muscle tissue requires more energy for the body to maintain than fat tissue does. But when you eat enough protein, it counteracts that muscle wasting effect. And while muscle tissue isn't as metabolically active as experts used to think, it still burns more calories while you're at rest than fat does. So you definitely want to keep as much of your muscle as possible. Muscle also makes your body look awesome once you've lost the fat. I mean, can you imagine a superhero without their muscles? Yeah. That's just not the result most of us want. You want those wide shoulders and a narrow waist. So to keep your muscle, eat enough protein and keep doing your resistance training. In addition to all of that, protein also keeps hunger at bay by keeping you full longer after a meal. So how much protein do you need? For optimal results, consume between 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight a day. Mistake number 3, focusing only on cardio for fat loss. Listen, there is a place for cardio on a diet. I personally prefer walking for most of my clients, but far too often I've seen people doing literally hours of cardio daily, and they look exactly the same week after week and year after year. But how can that be? Well, it's because the primary driver of fat loss is not cardio, but rather it's your daily caloric intake, how much you eat. And since it takes walking about 3 to 5 miles to burn off the calories in one slice of pizza, you can bet it's pretty easy to undo all of that cardio with just a single big meal. So focus on your daily caloric intake first. Get that down, and then you can worry about adding in some cardio to boost your results. If you want a simple way to calculate your daily calories to get in the ballpark for steady fat loss, multiply your body weight in pounds by 10 to 12. If you're active, lean more towards the 12, and if you're pretty sedentary, lean more towards the 10. Mistake number 4, falling for quick fix fat loss supplements. There are a ton of fat-burning supplements on the market that promise rapid fat loss. And back in the day, there were some that actually worked. If you're my age or older, you might remember Ripped Fuel or the original Hydroxycut formula. Or the real OGs might remember Ultimate Orange. That stuff was heart palpitations in a bottle. But the stuff that's available right now is very overrated. So the better approach relies on patience and consistency. Just eat a balanced, calorie-controlled diet and rely on proven strategies like resistance training, whole foods, and moderate cardio. Your fat loss is going to be so much more maintainable when you do it that way anyway. If this video is helping you, consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Mistake number 5, avoiding carbs or fats entirely. Carbs are not inherently bad no matter what you might have heard from prominent personalities recently. And while it is true that you can live without carbs, I personally don't think it's optimal. Carbs are the body's preferred fuel source. The body will use those first if it has them. I mean, I think we should consider our body's preference here. Does it not get a vote? And cutting carbs completely can lead to low energy, at least until you adapt to the diet. Low-carb diets can also lead to poor workout performance. Plus, you may end up craving carbs and overeating them later. It is true, however, that carbs are not required in the diet and the body can live without them. The human body is very resilient. And if you just love eating a low-carb diet, then you can still build a fantastic physique eating like that, as long as you eat enough protein and you eat the right amount of calories. Still, most people who have the goal of looking lean and muscular should keep at least some carbs in their diet. The best approach is to focus on a balance of protein, carbs, and fats. Zone in on the overall amount of daily calories and make sure you hit the minimum daily protein and fat requirements. Speaking of fat, there are some people out there that cut practically all of the fats out of their diet. I don't recommend it, and here's why. Number one, fats support hormone production. For you guys out there, if you don't eat adequate fat, it can lower your testosterone production. Number two, fats enable you to absorb fat-soluble vitamins. We can't live without these vitamins. Pretty self-explanatory. Number three, fats help your joint health. Now, I already covered minimum protein requirements earlier in the video, but now I'm going to cover the minimum requirements for fats. You should be eating at least 20 to 30 grams of fat per day. Special thanks here to Eric Trexler and the Iron Culture podcast for that data. Now, this also depends on your size, but I like to see my clients get around 40 to 60 grams of fat per day as a healthy amount. You can go lower for short periods of time, but it's not optimal. Avoid these mistakes and you're going to be on your way to smooth and efficient fat loss that doesn't stall. And if you'd like to know 6 things I do every day to stay in shape, watch this video next.